biggest airliner we have right now.
The domestic ARIC.
No, in terms of the plane. You have one that can seat as much as 50, 60 passengers and more.
Yes.
And you're collecting 45,000 naira from each of those passengers. And then how many times do you fly that route in a day? So let's calculate it and let's be realistic. It's a challenge, yes, definitely. But then I will still say there's issue of poor management involved.
I don't rule out poor management. And I think a number of the airlines will do better with good governance issues. Okay, money management, what have you. However, if you look at the cost of doing business in Nigeria, and I'll go back to the cost of doing business. If you push these airlines out, and I say, okay, fine. Look, if we can get this out, and that's why it was good, thank you, the central bank had a bailout package. But again, it's not just about throwing money at it, but you need to find out what really is a problem that the airlines have. Do they need waivers from the government on a number of, on one or two areas? Do they need to talk to FAN, talk to NAMA and the others and say, look, the XY that you're charging, these revenue generating agencies, you're overcharging the airlines, so perhaps they're charging 7-8%. Can you bring it down to 2.5% to help them stay afloat? Because the currency, the FX, a part of their operations is really, really high, and that is the truth. Aircraft is not a pair of shoes. It's totally different. It's not a car. For aircraft, everything is dollars from head to toe. Therefore, you need to be sure that they have FX, but they're doing business in Nigeria and they're charging Naira. Harriet, for every day and every minute that you have dollar, Naira nosedive, it hits the airlines. Don't forget the last 1-2 years had been really, really strong for the US dollar, globally speaking. So as the dollar strengthens up and your local currencies go down, whatever you are doing, whether C check or A check or D check, whatever you're doing overseas or spares, you got to pay in dollars. Don't forget that our airports are also, well, not too good. Let me put it that way. I wanted to.
And that's why we started refurbishment.
So when these local airlines, Aero, ARIC, the rest of them, First Nation, whatever, Medview, lands on Abuja runways, their landing gears were getting spoiled. Therefore, perhaps they should be suing the government in a class action and said, you left these runways unrepaired for 12, 13 years, they spoiled my landing gears, and the cost is on you. We need to get to that area in which right now, part of the problems they have, when you land in Abuja, for example, you hear this in the cabin.
That's why they're fixing the the runways now. And the
after 13 years, thank you.
Well,
yes.
It's a
but
start.
then who bore the cost of 13 years of my landing gears, the tires, the shocks that the aircraft had absorbed in the cabin? Sometimes you almost feel the luggages are falling over your head, and it's like, oh my God.
Okay, so Bosin, I still want to bring in the rescue options before AMCON, because AMCON has, taken over management of ARIC Air, which was what happened.
And I think Aero is still under his management.
So it still means that a lot still needs to be done for this particular sector. But what options does AMCON have, and what options can AMCON give for this industry, if any? AMCON
does not have money. AMCON is servicing debt. So, but AMCON is... This is very, we just got into a bit of a mess. This is very turbulent. I warned you earlier that this is going to be a very turbulent flight.
Turbulent Monday
morning.
So
just fasten your seatbelts, because AMCON doesn't have money to give anyone. The only person that has money is the central bank. Central bank has money, but central bank has its own issues. I think Emefiele has more FX problems to deal with than give anybody any cash. So AMCON would have to keep you under management, will have to give you a bit of a turnaround. So I think that's why they're changing the CEOs and hoping somehow. But we need to have an aviation conference in which you bring everybody in, including the National Assembly and the executive branch, and say, look, what can we do for this industry beyond central bank's pot of money? All
right, so that's the next port of call for us, and thank you for taking us on such a turbulent ride.
Maybe they should just take them to the stock exchange. I put out on Twitter, you didn't mention that. That you should just list ARIC and Aero and look for new investors and just put good governance or whatever there. Maybe an IPO will do.
Let me remind you, you just mentioned ADC Airlines. What happened to them? We'll talk about this after now. But Business Morning continues in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's see if we can have a safe landing on Business Morning for this beautiful Monday. Let's talk to Rotimi Fakaijo, who's an equities trader and the CEO of Enterprise Stockbrokers. Let's see if he can give us a good landing at this time. A good morning to you, Rotimi.
Good morning, Harriet.
It's great to have you join us on the program. So let's take a look at what's happening in early trade today at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It's the first trading day. How are the numbers looking?
Yes, the numbers are coming up, though trading is still very slow. For now, the market is actually 0.13% negative, owing to the losses in the share price of Owando, UBA, and UCAP. But those are, to an extent, marginal losses, which they, again, in another major security can just even out. So we expect that things will pick up and
so give us Rotimi, give us an early look at how Medview Airlines is doing. It listed earlier this last month on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and Bosun and I had conversations just some seconds ago talking about how the airline of aviation is airline industry is doing really. So how is Medview now listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange? How are investors trading this particular equity?
Well, there hasn't been major activity on the stock, and the reason for that is that it came by way of listing by introduction. And so the float in the market isn't much, is in the hands of the shareholders that were before they came to list on the in the market. So I think for now, we may not really see much of activity in that particular stock for now. And maybe with respect to what is happening in the aviation industry, I believe at least we've not had any negative news concerning Medview, unlike the other two that have been taken over by AMCON. So we believe that Medview is in good hands, and believe that as more shares of it come into the market, there'll definitely be more activity.
So do you think that other airlines should also look at the option of coming to the capital market to list as well?
Well, I believe this should be the ultimate thing for any major organization to do, at least those who have large capital and are into businesses that ought to outlive the owners. And I believe if by the time the restructuring and all the dust settle down at ARIC and Aero Contractors, I believe the present owner, AMCON, should be able to bring them to the market to get listed. And that way, the corporate governance issue will not be anything to worry about again, and investors definitely will patronize those stocks.
So, Rotimi, taking a look at how the market is shaping up this morning, you already said losses by some major heavies like Owando and UBA has dragged the market down. Do you expect that to be sustained throughout the day? Which stocks or which indices might be able to push the all-share index into winning ways, coming from last week where we saw a 1.38% close?
Well, I think today we've seen, in previous week, we've seen so much loss in the consumer goods sector. I believe that sector may just be the sector that will be able to uplift the market once again. If we see a turnaround in the share price of Nigerian breweries and also Guinness. Nestle has suffered so much. I believe there should be a stoppage to the downward trend in Nestle. So we may see that sector actually turning around the market.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed. But thank you for giving us a less than turbulent landing. As we wrap up today's show, Rotimi Fakaijo, CEO of Enterprise Stockbrokers and an equities trader with the Nigerian Stock Exchange. But that's it on today's edition of the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Harriet Agbinyi. Have a profitable day.